We're working for the weekend. Good morning, everyone. It's First Take, Carrie Champion in studio with Skip Bayless. Looking sharp as usual. Looks like a new haircut. I may be wrong. That's just me.
It's an old haircut.
It's an old haircut. And then Stephen A. Smith, let me guess. You're in No. He's in New York. That's where he is. He's in New York. How you doing, friend?
What's going on, y'all? Good morning. How's everything going?
Whose funeral are you going to today? Maybe your own on this show, maybe?
He's in mourning.
I was getting ready to say yours.
Oh.
I was getting ready to say yours and how that olive green shirt wasn't going to help you much, but I'll leave it alone.
I'm green with envy.
Yeah, okay. We'll see. Let's move on, gentlemen, shall we? Coming up on our show today, this is a special treat. Sports columnist Bob Bryant will be here. He's going to join the desk. He's going to talk about some basketball, the basketball guru, as well as some Boston teams, because he may know a thing or two about Boston teams since he's covered them for 40 years. Let's move on to the Saints, though. We'll be talking about football. It's Football Friday, so we'll be talking about the Saints. Can they turn their season around this Sunday at home against the Packers? The gentlemen will discuss. But first, did you watch that game last night? Did you? You did. Denver, San Diego, 35-21. Peyton Manning was 25 of 35, 286 yards and 3 touchdowns. All 3 touchdowns to Emmanuel Sanders, who had 9 catches for 120 yards. After the game, Manning talked about his receiving corps.
I feel like on any given night, it could be anybody's night. And so I think that's the reason those guys are playing so well, because they're all running full speed routes because they know the ball might come to them. We do a good job spreading the ball around. Adam moves guys around, tries to create different matchups. We're trying to get everybody involved. Certainly sometimes it's going to be one guy's night over another.
So Rivers threw for 252 yards. He had 3 touchdowns as well. 2 picks, though. Chargers were outplayed on both sides of the ball. After last night, everything you've seen thus far this season, Stephen A., are you thinking about changing your Super Bowl pick from the Patriots?
I'm not going to lie to you. I am thinking about it. I got to admit it. Skip, I know you're going to get on me. So be it. I'm thinking about it. Haven't made my decision yet. You know I jumped off the Saints bandwagon after I saw Rob Ryan's defense. I'm just done with them. So that was my NFC pick. My AFC pick was the New England Patriots. But as I'm watching this Denver Broncos team continue to flourish this year, I have to acknowledge to you, I've been incredibly impressed. We all know what Peyton Manning brings to the table. We understand that Emmanuel Sanders is a significant upgrade to that of Eric Decker, witnessed by this 3 touchdowns last night. What was it, 109 yards? 120 yards receiving. I just look at him with Demaryius Thomas, who also had 105 receiving yards. You got Julius Thomas, you got Wes Welker. But then you look at their running game. Obviously, with your offensive line intact with Clady back there because he was out pretty much most of last year. You're protecting Peyton Manning, but you're also run blocking effectively. We know that Noshawn Moreno is no longer with them. We saw that Monty Ball was supposed to be his replacement. Now you've got this kid Hillman who rushed for, 109 yards last night. But it's the combination of Hillman along with the physical Thompson. I'm looking at the combination of these 2 guys. And you know what? They can run the football effectively. So that adds another dimension and another weapon to their already potent offensive attack. And then you look at what's transpiring on the defensive side of the ball, Skip Bayless, with DeMarcus Ware still making an impact, with TJ Ward, with Aqib Talib, and this kid Von Miller. We've heard his name on many occasions in the past. Not only was he suspended last year, but he also wasn't that healthy even when he came back. He's 100% this year. And he's playing like it. He's one of the game's leading sack leaders. He gets after the quarterback. He does a lot of good things. And the combination of all of those things, I'm looking at Denver. They're a much more physical team than a team we saw in the Super Bowl right now. John Elway appears to have upgraded his roster, his squad. And you combine that with Peyton Manning being Peyton Manning and willing to maximize the potential around him. I'm not going to lie to you. They look virtually unbeatable right now. They really do.
So are you switching your pick?
No, not yet. Not official. Yeah. I want to see over the next couple of weeks or so how New England looks in response to Denver elevating its game. I really, really do. And I'm not ignoring Indianapolis either with Andrew Luck.
Okay. I am not going to lie to you either. Last night, when that game ended, I thought hard about switching my Super Bowl pick. I'm with you. I'm going to hang in. I'm going to cling to it by my fingernails. But I don't know, Stephen A. This is a juggernaut right now. Lord have mercy, this team is playing at a high level on both sides of the ball. And I appreciate that you brought up John Elway, because they got embarrassed in the Super Bowl. I could use all of your words for it, but I'm just going to go with embarrassed. And John Elway said, we have to get faster. We have to get faster on both sides of the ball. And did they ever, with Emmanuel Sanders and all the upgrades that you mentioned on defense? So I look at the Patriots, and we're going to talk about them, I think, pretty soon here. But again, they have to beat the Chicago Bears to have any shot here. And then they're going to have to, a week from Sunday, beat this team in Foxborough to have any chance of having home field advantage in the playoffs. Because if they have to, the Patriots go to Denver, I'm sorry, I'm out. I can't do it this time. I picked them to win there last year. They stunk it up. I told you Tom Brady, I'm sorry, he stunk it up last year at Denver. Go ahead.
Let me modify that just a little bit, Skip. I would say to you, the reason why I just wouldn't just summarily dismiss New England in terms of if they were good enough, Skip, to get to another AFC Championship game and they had to go back to Denver.
Yeah.
What if there's a blizzard? You see what I'm saying? What if this? I mean, the Patriots in inclement weather. I'm saying it is Denver. It is Denver,
okay,
and anything's possible. That's the only reason, because we all know that Peyton Manning in that weather, we don't know.
Speaking of Peyton Manning, I'm going to say this again. Is this possible? I'm watching a quarterback at age 38 getting better. Is it possible? To my eyes, he's better than ever. He's getting better.
Better than ever?
His arm strength is better than it was last year. Help me out here, but I'm seeing a guy playing the position at the highest level it has ever been played at. For this moment, right now, what I saw last night, that's unbeatable, man. He's making, just seems like every throw is right there or right there or right there. That bomb that he dropped to Emmanuel Sanders, it was just a thing of sweet beauty just right there. And Emmanuel Sanders, it is laughable what an upgrade he is over Eric Decker. It's just laughable to me, because not only is he obviously faster, he is so dedicated to the cause. He is loving, he said he went to wide receiver heaven. He is loving playing for Peyton Manning as a student, learning under the great Peyton Manning. And you mentioned little Ronnie Hillman, Stephen A. Look at his last 3 games. He's gone 116, 103, 138. He's a little bullet coming out. They list him at 5'10", 195. I'm not even sure he's that big. But Monte Ball, I'm sorry, pal. I think you've lost your job when you get healthy. I think they found something here. And then on defense, they're on all the way up to the 5th-ranked defense now. And you mentioned Von Miller. Does he not look quicker?
He looks like svelte.
Like he's lost weight. He lost like 15 pounds from last year.
Wait a minute. And it's not saying much, though, because he wasn't healthy. He wasn't healthy pretty much for the last year and a half. He hasn't been healthy. So whatever dissipation we saw in terms of his skill set, his speed, whatever the case may be, was due in large part to his health. He's healthy now, and I think that's all it is. But as it pertains to Peyton Manning, Skip, you could talk about the velocity on his throws, and I think that that's what I'm seeing too. But remember, all of this was predicted when he was coming back from surgery, and when you heard from the doctor, they talked about, well, we'll see how he looks last year, but as it progresses, you will see him get stronger and stronger because of what he had to go through. Yep. He wasn't going to be at full strength when he finally decided to come back. So I'm not surprised by the velocity. I definitely understand that he could look better, but Skip, I'm not going to give as much credit to Peyton Manning for that as I'm going to give to the weapons he has at his disposal. I mean, Demaryius Thomas with Julius Thomas with Wes Welker and Eric Decker were lethal enough to get to the Super Bowl. But then to upgrade it from Decker to Emmanuel Sanders, man, I can't say enough. I can't, as much as I love Peyton Manning and I love to see him do what he's doing, I can't sit there and just ignore the weapons that he has at his disposal. Those brothers are big time. They'd make a lot of quarterbacks look better than what they actually are. Not to say that applies to Peyton, but you know what I mean.
And quickly, on defense, is anybody noticing that Denver's Brandon Marshall is making us forget about Chicago's Brandon Marshall? Every time I look up, 54 is in the middle of another play. Seriously.
Well, I'm not going to go that far.
Well, I
mean, the name is the name, and he's balling. He's balling. He's all over the place. But he's not making us forget about Brandon Marshall. Jay Cutler is making us forget about Brandon Marshall.
Yes, you know that.
All right.
That's who's making us forget about Brandon Marshall.
Last quick point.
Okay, go.
With this momentum created now, this euphoria in Denver, not only is nationwide on Peyton's side, as we see in the commercial, but the referees seem to more and more be on Peyton's side. Am I right? Because what happened, it's 7-all in that game. Remember the kickoff, and the refs ruled it a fumble. Can we see that real quick? This is a fumble, and it gets overturned. It could have given San Diego the ball at the 26-yard line. Here it is, just real quick. This is the game-turning play. This is a fumble. The ball is coming loose before the elbow goes down. And all of a sudden, San Diego at 7-all is going to have the ball on Denver's 26-yard line. Well, now we could have a whole different discussion right now. But it seems like every break, including the Eric Weddle interception that got overturned by the defensive holding, they're getting every break many times from the referees.
Sure.
So I just want to make the point, it seems like the refs are also on Peyton's side as well as nationwide.
As well as nationwide.
Yes.
Well, are they sponsoring us?
Well, they are now.
Okay.
Thank you. Unfortunately, we don't get anything from it.
No. Go ahead, Stephen A.
Well, we need to. Well, first of all, we always need to get a piece of the action. It wouldn't bother me at all. That's number one. Being a capitalist that I am.
Yes, you are.
But number two, Skip. I will tell you. First of all, I'd like to see San Diego as the season wanes, particularly when Denver has to go to San Diego.
Yep.
I'd like to see the Indianapolis Colts as the season wanes. I'd like to see the Baltimore Ravens as the season wanes, not just New England. So again, you take look. We look at Denver. We like what we're seeing, and you know what? To be quite honest with you, I kind of hope that Peyton Manning, wins a Super Bowl before. I definitely hope he wins a Super Bowl before he retires, and I don't want him to retire just yet. So I wouldn't mind Denver not winning the Super Bowl again, so he could come back another year. But then again, he might come back even if they do win
and win another one.
The question is, are you rethinking your Super Bowl pick? Both of the gentlemen say yes, and that's because of the Broncos' dominance. They've won the last 4 straight games, outscoring their opponents by 18.5 points per game. That is extremely dominant. Let's go to the NBA, shall we? This was some interesting news. So last night I'm at home, Skip.
Yep.
I look at my phone. Nash out for the season. You know what I thought.
But were you shocked? Seriously.
No, but listen. Okay, so we spoke to the president and governor, Jeannie Buss, just yesterday.
Yes,
she sat here. She seemed really heavy, like she had something on her mind. Perhaps she knew.
Oh, maybe.
Perhaps she knew. Oh. So look, a week before the season starts, the 40-year-old Nash will miss his 19th season after he re-injured his back by lifting luggage. Nash is so they say. It could be more than that. You're right. He's the third overall on the career assist list. Nash is also one of the 4 shortest players ever to win the MVP. Take a look at that list. Those who stand out on that list, clearly Steve Nash, Allen Iverson. So we were having a conversation this morning. We thought we'd compare Allen Iverson, Steve Nash, Stephen A. Who's the better player?
As much as I can respect people asking that question, Kerry, Skip, the fact of the matter is that I don't think it can be answered because I don't think that I look at them as 2 completely different players. Steve Nash was a bona fide, legitimate, quintessential point guard who could really, really shoot the rock. Allen Iverson was a shooting guard, a scoring machine, the likes of which I have not seen for his size ever in NBA history. You ask me, I'm sorry, I'm biased. You know who I'm going with. I'm going with the answer. I'm going with Allen Iverson. I'm going with a guy. Listen. On this show, we are honest, Skip, and we are going to be honest and straightforward and express the appropriate level of humility. I've accomplished a great, great deal in my career. I owe a debt of gratitude to a lot of people in terms of family, friends, loved ones, etc. I truly mean this from the bottom of my heart. No matter how skilled and gifted I think I am, Skip, I'm not sitting here today. I'm not Stephen A. I haven't accomplished what I have accomplished in my career if it were not for me, if it were not for Allen Iverson. He is the reason I have achieved what I have achieved. Having to cover him every day for the first 10 years of his career. As much of a headache as it was sometimes, this brother was as real as it came. He brought it not just on the court, but off the court in terms of what he expressed honestly to me about who he was, what he believed, et cetera, et cetera. And when he got on the court, Skip, when we talk about a warrior, I've never seen anything like it. I know Isaiah Thomas as a little man, I would take him because he's a champion and a point guard and a leader and all of this other stuff. The Nate Tiny Archibalds of the world. Yep. I wasn't around to watch Bob Cousy. I wasn't born half the time he was playing, even though I have profound respect for him. But for me, modern day era, I'm rolling with the answer. I know Steve Nash could play. I know he's a future Hall of Famer. No disrespect to him. He should have had one MVP, not 2 league MVPs. Shaquille O'Neal was robbed of one of those league MVPs, Skip, and you know it. But I got some news for you. Allen Iverson is the greatest warrior I have ever seen. This dude was an assassin and would take you a career 26 point per game average. They underestimate the fact that he averaged 6 assists a game. This dude, you talk about a big game. You talk about warfare. I'm talking in a sports parlance, of course. You talk about guys going up against each other, talking about somebody whose heart you could rely upon to accept and embrace and answer the bell to a challenge. You give me Allen Iverson. I'm rolling with that brother. I'm sorry. I love Steve Nash. Love him. Okay, but there's no way on earth. I mean, somebody should slap me. I should be kidnapped and banned from television if I was to pick Steve Nash over Allen Iverson. It cannot happen. I'm sorry. I can't do it, Skip. I just can't do it.
He won't do it, Skip.
I appreciate that. And by the way, before I answer this question, speaking of the answer, I want to tell you that you are the reason for your success. I don't want to give Allen too much credit here. You can give him a little bit, but you are the reason that you got where you are. I'm going to say that.
He means a lot to me.
Yeah, I know.
He means a lot to me.
I get that.
He just does.
Okay, back to the question. This is very difficult for me because I have so much respect for that little warrior you just spoke of. And I don't disagree with one statement you just made. But in the end, you did have to qualify with for his size. He was the greatest scorer for his size. Stephen A., how tall was this man? 5'11"?
Yeah.
He said, you give him 6 feet? 5'11" and a half?
Allen Iverson?
Yeah.
Allen Iverson? Legit. Allen Iverson was about 5'11". They said a 6-foot guard. He actually, I don't believe he was 6 feet.
I don't either. Okay, Steve Nash is listed as 6 feet 3 inches tall. I have stood next to him in several locker rooms. I think he's real close to 6'3". He's built oddly. He has kind of long limbs for his height, and I think he is taller than he played. You think of him as the little point guard, but I think he's taller a la Steve Kerr than you think that he really was. So, Stephen A.,
okay,
I'm going to give this much edge, the slightest of edge, to Steve Nash, and I'm going to tell you why. This man was a wizard of a passer of the basketball. To me, to my eye, he was the greatest wow passer we've ever seen. I'm not saying he's the all-time, all-around greatest passer, because that would be somewhere between Magic and Stockton, and I think I would give that edge to Magic Johnson. But on wow passes, on spectacular passes, where you sat back and said, where did he come up with that one? That happened every night with Steve Nash. 5 times he led this league in assists. Twice, as you point out, he won MVPs, and I'm with you. The second one I did not think he deserved, but he was certainly in the conversation and did win 2 MVPs. Stephen A., you know the 50-40-90 club? Do you know that one, where you have to shoot 50% from the field, 40% from 3, and 90% from the free throw line? It's a very exclusive club. Yep. Nash leads the way. He did it 4 times. The next in the club is Bird with 2. And then you have Mark Price, Reggie, Dirk, and Kevin Durant. That's a very exclusive club, and Steve Nash leads it with 4 times in that club. He's a 43% career three-point shooter, and he is a 90% career free throw shooter, which ranks #1 all time. #1 from the free throw line, and he got his team 4 times to the conference finals, and he ran into Spurs, Dirk's Mavericks in 06, and then Kobe's Lakers in 2010. 4 times. Allen got his Sixers, and Allen's an overachiever because at 5 feet 11 inches, he got them to the one you covered, one conference final, which they won against the Milwaukee Bucks of Ray Allen and Cassell.
Yes.
And then he got them to the one finals against
It's
those
the Lakers. Yeah.
And they did the best they could.
That game won.
David, they did. Yeah.
Skip, allow me to interject because we're being serious here. I love you and respect you. Let me just say to you why I gotta respectfully disagree. Skip Bayless, do you realize who Allen Iverson was playing with? Now, I love listen, this is Philadelphia here. We talk about the Philadelphia 76ers. Some of these guys that were on this team are going to be my friends for life. The George Lynches of the world and Eric Snows, who are coaching under Larry Brown at SMU, who is the coach of that team.
Just say it. They're scrubs.
No, I'm just saying. You got the Kembe Mutombo. You got the Timmy. No, he wasn't scrubs.
I know.
You understand? They could play defense. But at the end of the day, what was he playing with offensively? Wasn't much. Tyrone Hill, Dikembe Mutombo, George Lynch, Eric Snow. Come on now. You look at Steve Nash. Who did he have when he was winning those MVPs?
Amari.
Skip Bayless, Joe Johnson, Sean Marion, Amari Stoudemire. He had a crew of dudes. And not only that, wait a minute. You also have Mike D'Antoni. Here's where that becomes incredibly important.
Sure.
Mike D'Antoni. Remember when what did you call him? Mike Antoni. You said take the D out of it.
I agree.
Couldn't play D.
Yep.
Okay? This is a guy that once sat there, Jimmy Jackson, true story, Jimmy Jackson gets traded to the Phoenix Suns. Jimmy Jackson gets stripped, gets a turnover rather, somebody's going in for a fast break layup. Jimmy Jackson goes and fouls the guy to stop the play, stop him from scoring the basket. Gets called over by Mike D'Antoni. Why? Because Mike D'Antoni says to him, we don't do that.
Yeah.
Let him score. Let him score. We don't want to disrupt the tempo. You didn't have to play defense. So if you Steve Nash, what are you talking about? You got an up-tempo game. You got opportunities out the wazoo to score and create plays at a rapid pace. That's entirely different than the structured, very disciplined, relatively archaic environment of Larry Brown's offense. And Allen Iverson still averaged 30 anyway. Come on now.
You just mentioned him. I think the greatest coach in basketball history, combined college and pro, Larry Brown.
I believe that.
6 years he coached Allen Iverson. How about that environment? How about that offense? How about having Larry Brown on his side every night?
Whoa. Don't speak as if I disagree with you. You know how I feel about Larry Brown.
You were making
I think
my
he's the
point.
greatest ever. But Larry Brown was incredibly disciplined and structured offensively. He believed in milking the clock. He believed in a slower pace. He didn't believe in up-tempo and all of that other stuff. I'm simply saying that if you look at that compared to Mike D'Antoni, it made life incredibly easier for Steve Nash, whereas that wasn't the case with Allen Iverson, even though he was your lone offensive option at 5 feet 11, and he still averaged 30. Skip Bayless, a 4-time scoring champion. This dude carried this franchise on his back for a decade. Don't give me Steve Nash couldn't have done that. Not with the talent that Allen Iverson was playing with. Steve Nash couldn't have pulled that off.
Okay,
so I don't want to hear it.
Okay, but could Allen Iverson
Allen Iverson?
Could he have gotten the Suns to 4 conference finals? I don't think so. That's just me at 5'11". I don't think he could.
Wait a minute. Time out. No, Allen Iverson would not have needed to be your point guard. You would not have needed, say, a Joe Johnson if you had an Allen Iverson. But if you had Amari with Sean Marion and a point guard and Allen Iverson was your 2 guard, you're damn right you could have got to a conference final.
You know what you would have gotten to? You would have gotten to
the answer for a reason.
No, you would have gotten to mutiny. That's what you would have gotten to.
Mutiny?
Yeah, because Allen Iverson would be pumping 30 shots a game, and everybody's saying, what about us?
Skip. We're simply going eye test basketball skill-wise. I'm not trying to refute the fact that there could have been some problem. We're just saying based on what we saw, talent-wise, basketball-wise, what you bring to the table, Allen Iverson is on another level, bro. Come on now. The greatest little warrior in history.
Wait a second. You went from respecting Steve Nash to saying that Allen Iverson is on another level from Steve Nash? He's not. It's close. If you get me close, I'll respect your opinion, but not another level.
Steve Nash is a Hall of Famer. Steve Nash, to me, is a Hall of Famer, deserves our respect. But he could never carry a franchise the way Allen Iverson did. That cannot happen.
He did. He carried Phoenix. You had to give him his offense, but he did it.
No, he didn't. Do you see the talent he had?
Jay Cutler has not performed well lately, as you just saw there. Not too well against the Patriots. It's an understatement. This is correct against your Vanderbilt alum. Cutler is 0-2 against New England, losing as a Bronco and as a Bear. Cutler also only has 1 touchdown to 4 picks in those games. However, Chicago does play well on the road. Let's note that. The 3-1 heading into the game at Foxborough, but 0-3 all time against New England in the regular season. Remember that, the regular season. Skip Bayless, objectively. How concerned should the Patriots be?
I'm glad you used that word,
okay.
Carrie Champion. Stephen A., I don't want to misrepresent you on this show, but you did pick the New England Patriots to win this year's Super Bowl. But is it fair to say that I'm the more bona fide New England supporter on this show?
That's fair.
Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Yeah, except for when the Cowboys are brought up, and then we realize that you're
blood. I was born and raised. I can't
there.
help that. But I like the Patriots, and you've known that for 10 years.
Yes.
Okay. Because I like Tom Brady. I admit it. I think he's really good and still really good. As a bona fide Patriots supporter, I am scared to death of a game that this team virtually must win if this team is going to have any chance of winning the AFC. Not just the AFC East. I'm talking about winning the conference and getting to the Super Bowl as I predicted. I am so afraid of this game that if I were a betting man, I would jump on taking the 6 points in Chicago in this game because, as Kerry points out, Chicago is weirdly dangerous away from Chicago. My pet theory on that is expectations were running so hot and high in Chicago, this team tries too hard to win at home, and it chokes, and it turns the ball over, especially that quarterback you referred to. 8 turnovers and 3 home losses so far, most of them thanks to Jay Cutler. But they've lost 3 games at home, 0-3. But on the road, Stephen A., they have won 3 games, and in those 3, they've turned it over only 1 time. 1 meager Jay Cutler fumble. What happened against the Jets when the Patriots played them when last seen? The Jets ran for 218 yards. Forte for the Bears has gone over 100 4 times already this year. I'm pretty sure he's going to go over 100 at Foxborough. I hope I'm wrong, but I'm just pretty sure of that. Obviously, my Patriots have lost their best linebacker in Gerard Mayo, and obviously they've lost their best running back in Stephen Ridley, and now obviously they'll be without their best pass rusher, Chandler Jones, for we don't know, a month or so. Who knows how long that will be. Very dangerous game. I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be a shootout. I'm going to hang in with my Patriots just because when you have 12, you have a chance. So I'm going to go 33-30 New England.
I don't believe the Chicago Bears are scoring 30 points on the New England Patriots, but I don't believe the New England Patriots are scoring 33 on Chicago either. I think the Chicago has a chance to win this game if Matt Forte is given the ball. He's averaging about 4 yards a carry. By the way, he's caught 62 passes this year for what is it, about 436 yards.
He's
the second leading receiver on the team. Yeah, and he leads the league. He's the second leading receiver on the team behind Alshon Jeffrey. So for me, when I look at the Chicago Bears, I think they can make this a game if they're smart enough to give the ball to Matt Forte. If they rely on Jay Cutler, he's an accident, Skip. It's just that simple. And I look at the Chicago Bears. I see them losing this game. I see New England finding a way to win this game. I can see New England winning this game something along the lines of 27-23. But it's because Tom Brady will find a way. The Bears will make it interesting. But at some point in time, Jay Cutler is going to be called upon to save the day, and I don't think he's going to do it. I'm not predicting that he'll commit a turnover because of his 7 turnovers this year. I think pretty much all of them were at home, or at least most of them anyway. He's had like 2 interceptions in each game until the last one where he had an interception and a fumble. But I just don't believe in Jay Cutler. I've never believed in him. I've tried to tell you that. But a game like this is when he may show up and make it interesting and give you cause to pause, make you question, how you put him down and may insult him, because he'll show up for a game like this. He will. And be productive. He usually reserves his ineptitude for when he's in front of the home crowd.
Okay, well, that's right, which is why I remember what was being called his signature career game at San Francisco in Week 2. Remember that on that Sunday night when they came back to win 28-20? And Cutler threw 4 touchdown passes. They were short, but he threw 4 touchdown passes. I'm fearing that kind of game. And the reason that I'm calling this must-win for the New England Patriots, I'm going to bring it up again. Murderer's Row comes after this because Denver comes calling a week from Sunday.
Okay.
Then it's at Indy, Detroit at home, at Green Bay, at San Diego. Wow.
Yeah.
You know, this is you have to beat the Bears or you're going to be in trouble because it's only going to get harder
after this game. Okay. Do you know what Jay Cutler and Dallas have in common?
They used to be kind of like mirror images of each other.
Well, no. They are, Jay Cutler and the Bears and Dallas are the only two teams in the NFL with 3 road wins. So this is why I see you're fearing
the Cowboys do have that in common, that they have not played very well at Jerry World, though I hope that trend is reversed.
Our next guest has been a columnist for the Boston Globe for 40 years. He's also well known as a basketball guru, and obviously you've seen him throughout our network. He recently wrote a book. It's called Scribe. I have it right here in my hands. It's a part memoir and part historical account of Boston's professional teams. We welcome to the desk.
Well, thank you.
Bob Bryant, how are you?
I'm excellent. Hi,
welcome.
Skip. Yes, sir. Good to see you again.
Stephen A., Bob Bryant in the house.
Honored, Bob. Honored to have you on the show, Bob. I've always looked up to you. You've done incredible work over the years, and it's just an honor and a privilege to have you on the show. Congratulations on the new book, sir.
Oh, shucks. Thank you, Stephen.
And allow me to say, I'm not sure any man alive knows more about the National Basketball Association than this man, except for maybe Stephen A. Smith. I had to qualify.
I'm a little bit older, so we passed the baton.
You passed the baton to Stephen A. Smith?
Yeah. Sure.
Okay. Well, that's very kind of you, Bob.
I appreciate that. I'm honored by that.
All right.
I'm honored by that.
Well, as mentioned, you've covered Boston sports teams for over 40 years, so let's talk about one that is in a little bit of trouble, shall we?
Go ahead.
The Patriots?
Well, they're not a contender yet.
Okay.
I call them the George Chivallo of football teams
that
right
goes
now.
way back.
They were a champion. I'm trying to think of, but there's no heavyweight boxing that we know of, Skip. Who am I going to use today for an analogy?
Nobody.
So for the older set,
yes.
he was the guy that,
I get it.
You got it.
He was the guy that you wanted to fight to prove that you were pretty good. He was a stalking horse, they called this guy. Clearly, they have deficiencies, but they still have assets, and namely the number 12.
Okay, but let's talk about this. Mayo's gone for the season. He's out, right?
He's
Ridley's
gone.
out for the season.
Ridley.
And then now Chandler Jones,
That's
a month or so. That's huge. That's their sack leader.
He was finally living up to his #1 draft choice status as a premier pass rusher. That's why he was taken. He was finally getting it. He was really becoming a star, and now he's gone. It's hope not for the season. They say 4 weeks. We'll see. It's major, and they are facing a succession of top-flight quarterbacks coming up in ensuing weeks.
So what do you see their season panning out to be?
You know what? I'm not putting my hand on that stove. When they were 2-2 and looking horrible, and the 2 wins, as you well know, were against Minnesota and against Oakland. Who cares about the wins?
Yep.
And they looked, and then they were destroyed by Kansas City. I locally said, "Oh, there goes 7-9." And then, of course, the next thing you know, they've won that. I'm not going there. I don't know, but I just don't see them. They have to prove so much before we can put them in any kind of contention. That's all.
All right, Stephen A., do you want to weigh in on what Bob Bryant had to say?
You know, I wanted to jump off the rails just a little bit and talk to me, Bob, about what your feeling was like, because when the Patriots had lost and they got shellacked by Kansas City a few weeks back on Monday Night Football, there was so much that was made about this team, where they're going. We looked at Bill Belichick and we said you left Tom Brady hanging, didn't give him the necessary weapons that he deserves. As a guy that's been a columnist in Boston for 40 years, that has covered this team before Bill Belichick ever arrived, obviously, and beyond, want to know the thoughts from your perspective about what exactly is the feeling by the locals there about Bill Belichick, the Patriots, and how they go about doing their business, especially as it pertains to giving Tom Brady the weapons he deserves.
The #1 thing at the time was the chaos, the utter chaos of the offensive line. That they had, that far into a season, were no clear idea who the 5 guys should be, moving people in that position, changing. It was horrendous. And that was a direct, and then you could see it affected Brady terribly. That was #1. Somehow in 5 days between the Kansas City game and the Cincinnati game, they seemed to have solved that problem. Amazing. Okay. Yeah. But they question your issue. Yes, people are questioning, why has he allowed Welker to go, and then they tried to replace him with Amendola. Finally paid some dividends last week, finally. But point is, yes, looking at what Peyton has to work with and what Brady has to work with. People are saying, why? Why are you allowed the offense to deteriorate? Why are you not giving Brady proper weapons? The other thing, though, was this. We always knew that if and when Gronkowski could get back to the old Gronk, if he could do it, that would solve a lot of their problems, and it has. It definitely has solved some of their problems in the last few weeks. He is getting closer to the Gronk, the pre-injury Gronk. But yeah, the question is, he has an antipathy. He's not the only guy, right? And that doesn't places no value on drafting wideouts in the first round. Doesn't want to do it. They all think they can get wideouts. Well, he's paid the price for his indifference to wideouts, I think. Okay, and lately the emphasis has been on the defense, and they had to get better on defense because the reason they didn't beat the Giants the first time, the reason they didn't beat the Giants the second time, the reason they've lost subsequent playoff games is that there were the crucial moments when they couldn't get the other team off the field. One more time, twice, they got 5 Super Bowl rings instead of 3. So, but in the end, did it still mean that the faith in him in general was gone? Oh, no. It is still in Bill we trust.
All right, so listen, can we switch topics and talk some basketball?
Absolutely.
Cleveland Cavaliers, the new big three, LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Love. Yeah. Odds makers have them 5-2 chances at winning the title. Your take on that?
Number one, I think I'm hoping as a fan that Bulls get it together, that Rose gets healthy, and he's as healthy as he's ever going to be, and I think they can be an obstacle right away. Number one, I'm a big believer. I have to full disclosure. I am the absolute regional president of 2 fan clubs.
Okay.
Joakim Noah.
Okay.
And Pau Gasol. Okay. I'm a president of their fan clubs in the Northeast region quadrant of the United States of America. I believe in them firmly. I think the Bulls have a chance to. The Bulls are an obstacle, no question. But Rose, I just pray he comes back to what he was. I've seen every great player and every fast guy in the last 50 years. There was something different about him. That explosion at the end of the coast to coast and that ability to move laterally in the air is unprecedented. I mean, literally unprecedented. He was different, and that was special. And if he can't get all that back, he can be very good, but he won't be special again.
Go ahead, Stephen A.
Bob, I've been on the record saying 2 things. Number one, I definitely think the Bulls, even though I would favor Cleveland, I'm not saying it's a gimme. I think the Bulls could very well end up representing the East in the NBA Finals if Derrick Rose stays healthy. And I've called Derrick Rose the perfect successor to the Jordan era in Chicago because I believe this kid's athleticism, his abilities are off the chart. At 100%, Bob, I have said there is no way that the Miami Heat make it to 4 consecutive NBA Finals with a healthy Derrick Rose standing in the way. What do you say to those things?
That we were in simpatico. I mean, I believe that that's all true. Absolutely. No, I totally do. I've been saying this. I believe in that. But it's a big if. It's an if.
Yep.
I got 2 thoughts about the Cavaliers. One is I cannot wait to see if they take full advantage of Kevin Love's ability to throw an outlet pass. He's the last of the Mohicans when that comes. He's the greatest outlet passer we have left. If they take advantage of that, and if I don't know how Dave Blatt's going to coach. I don't know what he's going to do. But if he doesn't take advantage of that and want them to be an up-tempo team, and then I think it's wasting an asset. Number 2, just will they be able to construct a defense? That's all. I mean, a proper defense. Because if they don't construct a really good defense, there will be eventually a limit to what they can accomplish.
I got 2 issues with the Cavs. Kyrie Irving likes to have the basketball in his hands, and he likes to shoot the basketball high volume. I'm not sure how that's going to click early on with LeBron. I'm not sure LeBron's going to love that, and he's going to have to find some flow with Kyrie that won't be easy early on. And Kevin Love, I get your outlet pass, and listen, below the rim rebounding, he's at the top of my list. But is he going to be comfortable taking and making the big shots in big games that he will get? Because he's going to be open. He's going to get those 3-point shots that he got all the time in Minnesota, but nobody was watching. Now everybody's watching.
That's a very good point, and I like to think that he has that pedigree. I'm a big fan of his, too. But that's a very valid point. He has not been in the position, never played a second of playoff basketball. We know that.
Yeah.
Nor Kyrie, for that.
And you're right about Kyrie, but isn't it interesting? LeBron's already taken a public deferential high road with regard to Kyrie. I trust LeBron's got a plan in his head, but let's be serious here. The ball's got to be in LeBron's hands an awful lot of the time or else why have LeBron James?
Okay, so who's your favorite coming out of the East? I know you said you're the president of the
well, I'm going to go Chicago. I'm going to stick with my guys, but once again, there is the if about how far back does Derrick Rose come. But yes, I think I still like Chicago.
All right, Stephen A., you had something to say?
I was getting ready to say, you know what, Bob, I would say this. I believe you're right, obviously, come playoff time. But I think the regular season, sort of to elevate Kyrie Irving's confidence even more, let him know that he's going to be needed, let him know that you're not just coming there to take away everything. I think LeBron is making the right moves in terms of being deferential to Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving's a bad little guard, meaning good. And I think that the ball should be in his hands, particularly during the regular season a lot, because I think that takes some of the load off LeBron James, and you could just use LeBron James in key pivotal moments to have the ball in his hands. What do you make of that?
Well, I think it's true, and I just think that the guy that really most resembles LeBron James historically in terms of being able to run your offense to a forward. Guess who? My old friend number 33, who I think are my starting all-time forwards on the all-time team. That's it. It's Larry Bird and LeBron James now. Sorry, Tim Duncan. God, I hate to knock you out.
Oh, boy.
But you know, I'm sorry. I hate to knock you out. But no, and if LeBron really showed them some old Larry Bird films and how, as a forward, you can ingratiate you can take over a game that way, and LeBron can do that.
So we're out of time, which means we don't get to talk about the Spurs. You mentioned Tim Duncan, and that's okay with me.
Well, are you sure?
They're going to win it all anyway.
Are you sure? Because we can extend this, you know.
No. Oh, can we?
No. Well, I do want to ask you this before we let you go.
Sure.
Stephen A. and Skip got into a pretty heated debate at the top of the show. We're talking about the best player between Steve Nash and Allen Iverson. Can you break the tie for me? Skip believes it was Nash, and this one over here says it was
close.
Iverson.
Iverson is the most amazing little force in the history of the NBA. I mean, and the toughest combination football mentality, and plugged into a little 6'1" body that the league has ever known. His competitive fire is incredible. He did take a team to the NBA Finals, and one of the great feats in our history. And I would have to say that I will have to side on the side of Allen Iverson.
Oh, okay. Allen Iverson.
But we're not talking about a route here.
Okay.
We're talking 51.
Slight.
We're talking 51-49. All right.
No, you said another level.
But
that's what you said.
What I said another level, Bob. Once again, let me say what I meant by another level is this: Steve Nash is a future Hall of Famer. He was a quintessential point guard who could actually shoot the basketball. He wasn't the force of nature that Allen Iverson was. The two don't compare in that category. Their production compares, but he wasn't close to Allen Iverson in terms of being a force of nature.
Carolina Panthers are in bad shape, but just a little bit better than the Seattle Seahawks. The 3-3-1 Panthers host the 3-3 Seahawks, who are trying to avoid their third straight loss. A tough ask considering the past few weeks for the defending Super Bowl champions. Not only did they lose to Dallas and St. Louis in part on a trick play, they traded their most dynamic wideout in Percy Harvin. So with drama on and off the field, can the Seahawks turn things around this Sunday against the Panthers? Who has the answer to that question? Our NFL analyst, Antonio Pierce. Welcome back. How are you?
I'm good. Better.
Voice?
You want me to go first?
I'm good.
No. We're going to give it to Antonio, our NFL analyst.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
No. Go ahead, Antonio.
Right, go ahead.
I think so. I look at Russell Wilson as one of the true leaders at the quarterback position on and off the field, and I think respected in that locker room. Sometimes things are out of your control. Sometimes you trade for a player like Percy Harvin, doesn't work out. But you look at all the other moves that they've made. Marshawn Lynch, very diverse personality, works. Richard Sherman has been working. You got to somehow come up with that recipe and that formula that you had last year to make that, it's all about us, forget everybody else, I guess, us against the world mentality, and forget what everybody's saying and go back to playing football. The problem with them is they're not playing good Seattle football, right? They're not the most physical team no more, it seems like. Years past, you said, wow, watching Seattle, they're just physically beating up on guys. Now they're taking the punches. Yeah. And that's what happens when you're the champion. You're going to even get the better part of play from a lot of NFL teams. And I think what they have to do is go back to having fun. When I watched them in the Super Bowl, it was almost watching like a college team playing the game. They were having fun. Yeah. And you watch them now, it doesn't look fun to them. Mm-hmm. And they got to get back to that. And that starts in practice. That starts with Pete Carroll, what environment he creates in the meeting room, in the practice room. But do I think they can turn around? Hands down. It's early season. You look at that division, even though Arizona's off to a great start, I still think it's going to come back down to Seattle.
So you have them winning the game this Sunday?
Yeah, against Carolina. Who's the running back for the Panthers? Who's the wide receiver they're throwing to?
They're still figuring that out.
Yeah. They realized they made a mistake with Mr. Smith up there in Baltimore. Should have kept him. Mm-hmm. So this is a great get-right game for them, especially on the road.
Stephen A.
Well, that's exactly where I was going. Of course, they can sit there and rectify things and steer the ship in the right direction this weekend because they're not playing against a potent offense. It's Cam Newton or bust because he doesn't have too much to throw to. Certainly doesn't have much to hand the ball off to run against Seattle's defense, and that's the issue that they're facing right now. Carolina's defense, while having some down moments throughout this season thus far, they're still a big-time defense, and they can show up and answer the bell. The problem is when the offense can't give you but so much. You got Benjamin, the rookie out of Florida State, who definitely is a formidable weapon, and we can't dismiss that. But that's basically it for Carolina's offense in terms of who's out there to help Cam Newton. And with the speed that they have on Seattle's defense, you're going to need to have something or somebody rather to help Cam Newton. And I don't think Carolina has it. I think this is the perfect weekend for Seattle to get things steered in the right direction. And I think that's exactly what they're going to do.
I disagree on this one, but I don't have strong conviction about it. This is a bizarre game to me because it's almost like the lesser of evils game because both teams got big issues right now. And Stephen A. just talked about Carolina's defense. Do you realize over the last 5 games, it has allowed an average of 426 yards a game, the Carolina defense? How can that be? Oh. Greg Hardy, we all know, was gone. They lost Captain Munnerlyn to free agency, but still, Kuechly's there unless he gets wrongly ejected. You know, it still should be better than that, right?
Yep.
And they had one great game at home. Detroit went down there, and again, you could pin this just on the Lions. You could say it's an aberration, but Carolina just steamrolled them. It's 37-16 Carolina. And I remind you, remember Game 1 last year when we were all trying to figure out just how good Seattle is? And Seattle went to Carolina. It was the season opener a year ago. It was about to turn into their Super Bowl season. And Carolina was leading 7-6 going to the fourth quarter, and Russell Wilson made one big play. Remember this to Curse? Yep. And they won 12-7. 12-7. So I think this could be a game kind of like that, where both teams are trying to find each other, trying to find themselves. And if I were a bet man, I would take the points on this game because it's 5. Seattle is favored by 5 points, and I would take Carolina at home with 5 points. I'm going to go ahead and I don't think Seattle's quite hit bottom yet. And I still like them, and I still think they got a shot to win the West. I'm going to go with Carolina in a low-scoring, close game, 20-19 here.
That's shocking. I mean,
why?
To me, it's just a one-man show in Carolina, offensively. Yeah. So that favors Seattle defense, which I think is going to bring a ton of energy to this game. I don't see the same Panthers defense, what you're talking about, that's going to stop Russell Wilson from scrambling, nor stop Marshawn Lynch from running the football. So to me, this is a great, like I said, get-right game.
Okay, so go have courage of conviction then. Like, is this a rout?
I think it could be.
Okay.
I don't see Carolina. I mean, I was wrong on my prediction yesterday, so I don't want to get.
We were going to talk about that too, but we decided not.
Don't bring it up.
So we won't. We'll let you slide.
If the ref makes the right call.
On the fumble?
It would have changed that game.
You're right.
It would have changed.
All right, staying on this game, let's go. I think it's going to be right. I think it's going to be 30-17.
30-17. What do you got, Stephen A.?
I would say this game right here, I'm going to pick Seattle to win 27-16.
All right. And you have it a low-scoring game.
20-19.
Joey Logano wins it at Kansas. Kevin Harvick wins it at Charlotte. Brian Keselowski wins it at Caliendo.
Welcome to the Eliminator Round.
Martinsville, Texas, Phoenix.
The field has been cut in half. 4 will advance to the NASCAR Sprint Cup Championship.
8 drivers.
8 proud nations.
The pressure's out there. They're feeling it.
You can't afford a middle lapse.
The chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup in Martinsville, presented by AutoZone. Sunday at 1 Eastern on ESPN.
The Eliminator Round is here.
Drew Brees and Sean Payton have won their last 18 home games on the field together, outscoring opponents by almost 20 points. So they're back at home. We all know they can't play well on the road. So the question is, will the Saints continue to dominate at home this Sunday against the Packers? Stephen A. Smith, the answer?
Tough call for me, Skip, Carey, because they're at home. That's the only reason this is a tough call. in the Dome. It's going to be loud. Their season's on the brink. They can't afford another loss. Things can happen. I get all of that. But I'm still going with the bad man that he is, Aaron Rodgers, and the Green Bay Packers, because I simply have no faith in Rob Ryan's defense. It's just that simple. They're ranked 28th in the league against the pass. They're giving up over 270 yards a game in the air. Rob Ryan loves to blitz, and nobody finds the open man faster than Aaron Rodgers. Last time, Skip, that Aaron Rodgers faced a Rob Ryan defense, it was when Rob Ryan was in Cleveland, I believe, in 2009, and Aaron Rodgers finished with a passer rating of 155. This dude, he should have a field day against New Orleans defense, especially one that can't seem to get at the passer, because they only got 9 sacks on the season in their first 6 or 7 games. I'm not a believer in the Saints. I've totally jumped off their bandwagon, not because of their offense. I knew it was going to struggle a little bit. But I thought that even though they lost Darren Sproles, because you've got Breeze, because you've got Colston, because you've got Graham, because you've got Ingram and those boys, I thought they would find a way. But I'm not a believer in this defense. I'm not a believer in Rob Ryan's defense. And even though they're on their home turf, I'm no longer a believer in the Saints. They are tough at home. I wouldn't be surprised if they won this game. But if I had to bet my money, it's going to be on the bad man that is Aaron Rodgers and Green Bay finding a way. I think Green Bay wins this game 33-30.
33-30. You know what? I would be surprised if New Orleans wins this game. I hear what you say about Rob Ryan's defense. I got to tell you, my eye test is telling me Saints have lost their way on offense, especially late in close games. I look at the numbers on Drew Brees in fourth quarter and overtime this year. His QBR has fallen all the way to 58.3. Again, scale is 0 to 100. So he's middle of the pack, 15th in the NFL in the fourth quarter and overtime. And obviously, 3 of their losses were the close variety. Came down to the wire. I don't think this game's going to come to the wire. I think that your Green Bay Packers and your quarterback are going to celebrate a little early Mardi Gras in New Orleans. I think it's Bourbon Street, baby. It's just they're just going to stroll right down Bourbon Street, right into the end zone, and the bad man is going to be bad. I mean, he's going to light this place up. And I know we have to go all the way back to Week 17 of 2010 to find a game in which Drew Brees and Sean Payton together lost at home. 2010. What are we now?
This is 2014.
That's a long time ago.
And that was a throwaway game. Remember, they set the starters.
It was, and Tampa was there. That's true.
Yes.
Good point.
Yes.
So they're just virtually invincible at home until now. And I think New Orleans is going to be in the wrong place at the wrong time in their home dome. And I got to give it up to Aaron Rodgers. He said relax, and he didn't relax at the quarterback position, because I look at his last 4 games, Stephen A., 71% completions, 13 touchdowns to 0 interceptions over the last 4, QBR 93.2. And I got to give this up to you, because you know me. You call me sneaky and whatever you call me, that I omit the key details. There's one glaring detail I cannot omit. 18 touchdowns for Aaron Rodgers on the season to 1 interception. Yep. That's pretty great. I got to give it up. I think he just flat out guns Drew Brees in Drew Brees' backyard. So I'm going to go a little bigger. I'm going to go 38-24. 38-24 visiting team.
Skip, I got to tell you, don't say my Green Bay Packers. I'm not the biggest Green Bay fan.
But
I respect McCarthy and Thompson and the crew. I respect Clay Matthews, but I don't respect the quarterback. I love the quarterback. I think he's the best in the business right now. I think he's one of the greatest I've ever seen already. I am a huge, huge Aaron Rodgers fan. He's a bad man. I ain't exaggerating when I say that. That's why I was so disappointed with him in the season opener when he didn't attack Richard Sherman. If anybody should have attacked Richard Sherman, it's Aaron Rodgers, because he's the one with the requisite skills to pull it off. He is that lethal. I just love Aaron Rodgers, man. To me, he's the best in the business.
Now remember,
he just is.
I just gave it up on a game in New Orleans in late October. I'm not talking about the postseason here.
Okay.
Because I can't remember what.
I understand.
When was the last time Aaron Rodgers?
When the last time when he won the Super Bowl?
It's been a long time. When was that Super Bowl back in?
Skip,
1999.
I look at Peyton Manning.
Okay. Yeah.
We started off the show talking about Peyton Manning's greatness, Skip Bayless. And I'm telling you right now, I do believe it. He's great. No question. Peyton Manning, even with the way he's looking, I'd still take Aaron Rodgers.
Oh.
I'd still take Aaron Rodgers.
He would still take.
That's how I feel about it.
Okay, right now, to win one game on this weekend, you would take Aaron Rodgers over Peyton Manning.
Wow.
Yes, I
would.
would not. Skip, I'm gonna say it even better for you. There is that omitting that disgusting performance against Seattle. In the opener when you didn't attack the right side of the field and attack Richard Sherman.
Yes.
Omitting that.
Bandwagon.
I'm telling you right now, Skip. I'm telling you right now, there isn't a game, a week, or a season at this moment in time that I would pick any quarterback in the world ahead of Aaron Rodgers. I do not care what the game is. I do not care what the atmosphere is. I do not care what the circumstances are. I don't give a damn if it's a drive, if it's a quarter, if it's a game, if it's a week, if it's a season, if it's a playoff game, if it's a Super Bowl. It does not matter to me. I am taking Aaron Rodgers under any scenario you choose. Strictly as a quarterback. Put Aaron Rodgers on Denver with Demaryius and Julius Thomas and Wes Welker and Emmanuel Sanders and Ronnie Hillman and those boys and watch what Aaron Rodgers does. He's a bad man, Skip. He's the best in the world.
Help me out.
He's the best in the world.
Last year in the playoffs,
what happened?
I think it was at Green Bay, but maybe my memory fades. But I think it was at Green Bay and the 49ers visited for a playoff game and it seemed like the bad man lost that playoff game. Am I right about that?
All I'm saying, no, you're right. You're not wrong about that. All I'm saying to you, Skip, is this. If you mention a quarterback, you can't mention the quarterback and ignore the personnel. Just like you say, you give Peyton Manning all the credit in the world because of how he's looking. I'm the one that leans on Demaryius and Julius Thomas and Wes Welker and Emmanuel Sanders. I don't ignore the parts that they have around them. You want to sit there and look at Jordy Nelson and Randall Cobb and all of that stuff, you go, and Eddie Lacy and them, you go right ahead. I'm telling you. Strictly as the quarterback, no matter what scenario you pick, I'm rolling with Andrew Luck. Give him the same weapons Aaron Rodgers. You give him Peyton Manning's weapons. Watch what happens. Please.
They won the Super Bowl in 2011.
Aaron Rodgers the best in the business.
Oh, it was 2011
when they won the Super Bowl.
Let's see, this is 2014.
It's 2014.
2011?
Well,
yeah.
Right.
Well, it's almost
I'm sorry,
4 years ago.
Skip. Quick question before we go.
No, I'm
Quick
not
question
done
before
yet.
we go.
I'm not done.
When's the last time Peyton Manning
won a Super Bowl?
Rex Grossman.
2006.
What year?
2006.
2006?
Yeah.
What about Tom Brady? When did he win the Super Bowl?
When was the last time he was in the Super Bowl?
What was
in
that?
the Super Bowl.
No,
against Eli. In the Super Bowl.
One. Don't put words in my mouth.
And by the way, thank you for bringing up the best quarterback in the National Football League. One game for my life. It is Tom Brady who continues up in Foxborough to do it with smoke and mirrors.
Okay.
You talk about weapons.
Love Tom Brady.
What weapons?
Love Tom Brady.
What weapons?
Yeah.
Everybody says Belichick never helped him. He never gave him a wideout. He still doesn't have a wideout. And what happens? He's got Julian Edelman.
Love Tom Brady.
A former quarterback.
Love Tom Brady.
Round
He
draft
ain't
choice.
better than Aaron Rodgers.
Yes, he is.
He ain't
One
better
game
than
for your
Aaron
life.
Rodgers.
Give me number 12, the number 12, Tom Brady.
Through 7 games, DeMarco Murray has had 187 carries, the second most in NFL history this early in the season. Murray continues on this pace for 16 games. He'll set a new NFL record for rushing attempts in a season, which is something that Cowboys Vice President Stephen Jones has considered. On the radio the other day, he says, "We certainly know that when you touch the ball that many times, you are exposing DeMarco to a difficult hit or something like that. So we're aware of it. We want to do better in terms of reducing his touches. Not by a ton, but you'd like to see him get it at less than 30 times a game. Between his receiving and running, I think he's in a 35 to 36 range. So we would like to get that down." We welcome back our NFL analyst, Antonio Pierce, here to add narrative and a different texture to this debate. But, Skip, I'll give it to you. We haven't even started.
Yeah,
your reaction to what
Stephen
Jones had to say.
I am here to say that these quotes, when I read them last night, I have not heard them, I just read them, rubbed me the wrong way. And Stephen A. Smith, I think I am now going to rename Stephen Jones, Jerry Jones' son, Stephen A. Jones, because he just talks too much. At least for my taste on this issue, he just talks too much. I don't want to hear this. There is a thing out there. There's a phenomenon that I studied. I was actually a psychology minor at Vanderbilt. Will you give me that?
That
just a minor, okay?
so
that
much.
explains a lot about
That
it.
explains so much.
But there's this thing called self-fulfilling prophecy. The more you talk about something, the more you fear something or dread something, the more likely it is to happen. So if you keep talking about, we got to cut back, because the inference is he's going to get hurt, he's going to get hurt. You know what's going to happen? He's going to get hurt. I don't want to hear anybody representing the Dallas Cowboys talk about reducing carries or saving him from himself, because the more you do, the more it's going to happen. And to make my case, before I hand it off to you two gentlemen, or you lady, I got to revisit the case made on this show by one Herman Edwards. Our friend Herm, who did coach the Jets and the Kansas City Chiefs. And could we revisit this quickly about what he said about DeMarco Murray?
Everybody's worried about Murray getting hurt. And can he do it? When I was a coach with the Jets, I gave Curtis Martin the ball 371 times. He ran us into the playoffs. When I went to Kansas City, I gave Larry Johnson the ball 416 times.
Wow.
Led the league in carries, and he ran us to the playoffs.
So wait, are you disputing what people are saying?
No, I'm saying run him. Keep running him. Don't worry about next year, 2 years from now. Run DeMarco Murray. Don't get worried about the carries and the attempts. Run him.
Thank you, Coach Herm. And I know what's about to happen on this show, because we are about to have a response from a former New York Giant and a lifetime New York Giants fan. And they don't want to see DeMarco last for this season for my Dallas Cowboys. I get that. But I believe in what Coach Herm just said, because he was dead on accurate. He ran Curtis Martin 371 times, and he caught 41 balls that year. And they did go to the playoffs, and they won their first playoff game, thanks in large part to Curtis Martin. And he did run Larry Johnson an NFL record 416 times, and he caught the football 41 more times. And guess what? He lived to tell about it, because they went to the playoffs. And you're right, DeMarco is on course to break that record of 416. He could wind up with 427 and 58 catches. And I don't care, because I don't want to talk about it, because I think he can last for 16 games. This team can win the NFC East in large part because of DeMarco Murray. And that's it. We should go to break. I've had enough, but unfortunately.
We'll see in a few. No, I'm kidding. Okay, so you can speak objectively. He's clearly emotional. This is his job. He's going to be objective.
First, let me say this. Curtis Martin, Larry Johnson, two different beasts when it comes to health at the running back position. I don't know the exact numbers, but I'm sure Curtis Martin missed a lot of games in his NFL career.
He was not a beast, because he could make you miss a little bit. Yeah.
But I'm talking about health-wise.
I agree.
Larry Johnson, I don't recall until later on being injured much. You're talking about a guy who has yet to play 16 games to date.
DeMarco has not.
Yeah, and I think I think his highest carry was last year, or 2 years ago, 217, 220 carries?
But he played 14 games.
So you're talking about, you're a Cowboys fan, all the Cowboys fans. You want to get into the month of January where it really counts.
Yeah.
Nobody cares about October and September and August.
Well, they do if you can't get to January.
No, because if you blow it in December and your guy's not there and Romo's on his back because now he has to throw the ball more, the reason why the Cowboys are successful, I believe, is because Romo has less attempts, which is keeping him healthy, regardless of what we think. The reason he is healthy is because he's not getting hit. But you cannot have the attempts that you're talking about doing with DeMarco Murray, talking about run him to the ground. You can't. This guy's not going to stay healthy. His history tells you that. Not me. His history tells you. Look at this other day. He's running against the Giants. He almost rolls his ankle on the sideline.
Yeah. But it was freak.
But that's what happens to him.
Nobody even touched it, right?
He has freak fumbles, too.
Okay.
There's a lot of things that happen.
4 freak fumbles to start the year off.
Put it like this. I want to see him run more. But if I'm a Cowboy fan, I don't want to see it. I want to listen to Stephen Jones, because I agree with him. For you to play deep into the month of January and hopefully February, you want this guy healthy.
All right,
So
he had
you need to
35, 36 now. What should he get? Less than 30, 20,
No,
25?
25. I mean, Randall's coming along well. He needs to be between 22 and I think 25.
Stephen A., you have been preaching this for some time now, sir.
Kind of depressed about the topic, to be quite honest with you, because with Stephen Jones opening his mouth, he basically he warned everybody of what's coming, and that kind of depresses me because I was hoping the Dallas Cowboys would be stupid enough to continue giving DeMarco Murray the ball because he's not going to last. Consider this. DeMarco Murray ran the ball 217 times last season in 14 games. He is already at 187 in 7 games. 30 carries the next game will give him the entire amount of carries he ran the ball all of last season, the 14 games that he participated in. And somehow, some way, at the halfway mark, he will have equaled his total from last year, and everybody thinks that's a good thing. That's a disastrous thing for the Dallas Cowboys. This man is not going to be able to hold up. I don't care what anybody says. Or if he does hold up, it's for the sole purpose that the desperate individuals like Skip Bayless and other Dallas Cowboy lovers that are tired of seeing them watching the playoffs at home like the rest of us, you want to sit there and run this dude into the ground. No. DeMarco Murray should be happy that Stephen Jones spoke up because what Stephen Jones said is we care about you and we care about your future. The Skip Baylesses and the Dallas Cowboy fans of the world are saying, the hell with you, DeMarco Murray. We don't care about you. Go ahead and run yourself into the ground. Don't ladder after this season. That's what they want to happen because they're so desperate because of 8-8, 8-8, 8-8 season back-to-back-to-back years where you missed the playoffs in a 6-10 season. Prior to that has kept you out of the playoffs the last 4 years, and they can't take it. They're nauseous by it. They're sick. They're vomiting all the time. You understand? Because this is what they go through. And what they want to do is ride DeMarco Murray. I respect Herm Edwards. Love Herm Edwards. But I'm sorry. I didn't see those Jets teams that he ran into the playoffs, Thomas Jones or Larry Johnson and them, win any Super Bowls. Why? Because they probably didn't have but so much left once the playoffs began. So Stephen Jones saying what he said is advantageous for DeMarco Murray. It could very well end up being advantageous for the Dallas Cowboys. But what I am shocked by, especially when it comes to that slickster sitting next to you, Carrie, Antonio, that slickster right between y'all, what I'm surprised by, if you believe in Tony Romo so much, you believe in Des Bryant so much, you believe in Terrence Williams so much, and you believe in the offensive line so much, you think the Dallas Cowboys defense is so vastly improved,
it is.
What's the problem with DeMarco Murray getting less carries? How come you can't just sit there and give the brother some rest and dissipate those carries? Why can't you do that?
My problem is with the silver-tongued devil I'm looking at through this camera right now, who has such wishful thinking operating here because he's hoping against hope that DeMarco not gets hurt, just gets beat up a little bit where he can't go for game in week 13, 14, 15. And I'm sick and tired of hearing it. There is no law. There's no NFL rule that says if you run it more than 400 times, you will get hurt. There's no law. There's no rule. Unless I'm missing one here, and I don't know what. If you keep talking about it and you get it in your head, if DeMarco gets it in his head, if I keep carrying it 30 times a game, I'm going to get hurt. You will get hurt.
Yeah.
You will see it, you'll perceive it in your head, and you will get hurt. But there's no reason you have to.
Antonio,
I'm sorry.
You talked about the health of Curtis Martin and Larry Johnson. Right. Curtis Martin played all 16 games, 8 of his 11 seasons. And as far as Larry Johnson was concerned, he only played all 16 games once in his entire career. Wow. So there is no rule.
But the history of DeMarco Murray already says he can't play a full season. Okay. Because he's in, 4 years he hasn't.
This is fourth, yeah.
This is 4th year. Yeah. And I'm sure it's about to happen.
You're sure? You're predicting.
Because Stephen Jones just said it.
Okay, Stephen Jones.
Stephen A. Jones.
Stephen A. Jones said it.
All right.
Not Smith.
All right. Antonio Pierce, thank you for joining us.
Run, DeMarco, run.
So we got Stephen A. Smith and Stephen B. Smith this morning.
There's only one Stephen A., and I categorically agree with the specified singular nomenclature. Ergo, everyone else is a distant second, not only in aptitude, veracity, and knowledge basis, but also alphabetically as far as initialized middle names and sometimes italicized congruence where utter and complete cohesiveness is concerned. Everything Stephen A. articulated was exactly what I've been deliberating and contemplating with the exact conclusion I'd rationalized internally. DeMarco Murray, who's a close personal friend, and by that I mean someone who I've seen play on television but have never actually met. Hey, thanks for having me on the Michael D. Greenberg and Michael L. Golick show. I appreciate it with my utmost sincerity. And now, if you excuse me, I need to go finish memorizing my thesaurus.
Thesaurus. That was very clever. Deliberating. He did you really well, Stephen A. on Stephen A.
He does a great job. I love it. I love it. All I ask is that if you're going to imitate me, be funny. And he definitely pulls that off. Love Frank Caliendo. Appreciate it, Frank C. Thanks a lot, man. It was really fun. I liked it.
And by close personal friend, I mean I've watched him on television. That's my favorite.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Close personal friend.
Although DeMarco actually is becoming a close person.
He is. He is actually a friend of the show.
You know what I see, Mr. Smith?
Yes, he is.
I think that Jay Farrow does you visually better, but that Frank does you verbally better. Is that fair? Does that ring a bell?
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree. Right. But I tell you who the sleeper is, Skip. Scott Van Pelt.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Scott Van Pelt once imitated me doing the Masters for Tony Kornheiser and Mike Wilbon on PTI. I almost fell off my couch. It was hilarious. It really was.
They say
Scott
imitation is the highest form of flattery,
him.
so you should be flattered, Stephen A. Smith. Moving on to the topic at hand.
It's all fun. Got no problems with it.
The Cardinals and Eagles have won 12 of their last 15 games. Eagles handed the Cardinals one of those losses in Week 13 of last season. So when they play this Sunday, Stephen A., who wins that rematch, Cardinals or Eagles?
I'm rolling with the Eagles for just two reasons, Skip. I know that the Cardinals are impressive. I love me some Bruce Arians. I'm so happy that he's a head coach. I think he deserves it. Incredibly innovative offensively. I understand that. I still have some questions about Carson Palmer, though. That's where a piece of my reticence lies. The other part to it is that they don't defend the pass very, very well. They're number one against the run. But passing yards over the last 4 games, they've given up about 325 yards in the air over the last 4 games or so. And outside of Denver, Skip, why are you doing that against Washington, Oakland, San Francisco? I don't understand that. But they've, they lost to Denver. They won those other games. But you consider the amount of yardage they're giving up in the air. I think Nick Foles, along with Brent Selleck, along with Jeremy Maclin, Riley Cooper, and those boys, I think they can take advantage of that. With the Darren Sproles coming out of the backfield catching passes, I think they can take advantage of that. So, yeah, I just think that the Eagles, this is the game, especially them coming off a bye week, being well rested. I think this is a game that the Eagles could pull off, and I anticipate they will do just that.
You could be right about this, but I'm going with the home team. I'm going with Arizona, in part because I still haven't figured your Eagles out. I'm not sure what to expect from game to game, really from Nick Foles or the defense. But they're coming off 27-0 against Eli and company. It's pretty impressive. Still, Stephen A., I'm going to go coaches. I'm going to go advantage Arizona coaching. I'm going to go, you talked about Bruce Arians. We talk about that he has genius about him. Is anybody noticing, Mr. Smith, what Todd Bowles keeps doing with that defense in Arizona? This is a man who should be a head coach in this league.
I agree.
And maybe this is the year that the springboard is provided off what this defense continues to do. It's ranked 5th in points allowed. It's still first as it was last year against the rush. I got to give Todd Bowles a lot of credit for that because I keep looking at all the losses. We talked before the year. No Darrell Washington. Obviously, they lost Dansby to free agency. Now, Abraham's gone. Darnell Dockett's gone. Calais is gone for we're not sure how long, but he's gone. Those are big pieces off that defense that was so good by the end of the year last year. And they're still good. They're real good on defense. So I think they're going to give Foles and company a little problem. I think they're going to limit what LaShawn can do cutting back and running the football. And Carson Palmer doesn't knock my socks off, but he's been pretty good, and I think he will continue to be pretty good. And I think at home, I just think they're going to win a close game. I'm going to call it 24-22 Arizona, and this is a crucial game. I'll be the first. Maybe I'm picking it with my heart here because this is a crucial game for the NFC East.
Yes, for you.
Because next week Arizona goes to Jerry World. So if the Cowboys could take care of the Redskins, you never know about a division rivalry. Monday night, ESPN. Thank you very much. That'll be a nice game.
Everything goes back to the Cowboys.
It does, but this is a Cowboys-centric, NFC East-centric game. And so Arizona is going to help decide the NFC East in the next 2 weeks because if Philly comes out with the loss and Dallas with the win, obviously it would be advantage Jerry.
We asked you to give us some help. It was a heated debate. Who was the better player? Was it Allen Iverson or was it Steve Nash? You've weighed in. 60% say it's Iverson. 40% say Nash.
That's shocking.
Is that shocking?
Well, Steve Nash got 40. I think that's like a moral victory for Steve Nash.
Okay, so he should take that moral victory. He should also take this as well. Allen Iverson most recently tweeted moments ago, sad to hear about Steve, but happy he had a great career. A true point guard. One of the best to ever do it. His biggest fan, AI.
Wow, that's nice.
That was very elegant of him, wasn't it?
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, back to the desk. Stephen A. Smith, apparently you're correct. Allen Iverson was the better player, according to our followers.
I don't know if anybody's looking at it and saying, oh, my goodness, one's better than the other per se. I think they were two different kind of players, like I said earlier. Steve Nash was the quintessential point guard, but he could really, really shoot the basketball. But he was a prototypical point guard. Allen Iverson was a scoring machine that just happened to be 6 feet, 165 pounds, soaking wet. That was the difference. But he was the heart of a warrior, and he carried a franchise on his back for a decade. And that's where I think people are siding with me. They're recognizing that as great as Steve Nash was, and that they would never have a problem with him being inducted into the Hall of Fame, in the same breath, they know that Steve Nash and his skill set could not, and his heart, as much as he had heart, he wasn't scared of anything. It couldn't carry a franchise on his back the way Allen Iverson did for a decade in Philadelphia. It could not happen. He didn't have that kind of skill set available to him, and that was the difference. Nor was he that kind of a warrior. Steve Nash was tough, very gifted, very skilled. Again, future Hall of Famer. But Allen Iverson, just a different breed, man. You know, you don't make too many. From a warrior, Skip, we talk pound for pound in boxing all the time. Pound for pound. Pound for pound. Could I not definitively sit here and say Allen Iverson is easily top 10, maybe top 5, pound for pound in the history of basketball? Pound for pound.
Pound for pound, I'd say he's number one. Seriously. I'll give you that. But here's what I won't give you.
That's what I'm talking about.
I know you disputed Steve Nash's second MVP. You thought maybe he didn't deserve that one. And I was with you on that.
Shaq.
But the point was, the voters said Steve Nash won 2 MVPs. Now let that sink into your brain. Little Steve Nash was twice voted most valuable player of the National Basketball Association in an era filled with all kinds of stars, the Kobes and the Shaqs. And it was great. And he was greater. 2 MVPs for Steve Nash. That's what I'm building my case on. And again, I don't know if many people out there care about this extremely exclusive 50-40-90 club. Again, you shoot 50% from the field as a guard. Where you got high degree of difficulty here, you shoot 40% or better from 3, and you shoot 90% or better from the free throw line. And he is a Steve Nash career 90% free throw shooter, number 1 all time. He did that 4 times. 4 times. And the next, in an exclusive 5-member club, the next guy who did it twice was Larry Bird. Well, that's extraordinary. And I'm going to say this again. In passing the basketball, I'm not saying that Steve Nash is the greatest assist man ever. He led the league 5 times in assists. But on wow factor, you tell me, Stephen A., have you ever seen anybody make more wow passes on a nightly basis than Steve Nash did? Wizard passes. Will you say, how did he see that? How did he do that?
Other than Magic Johnson, no. But I will tell you, Skip, again, I'm not going to turn this into a conversation where anybody's trying to denigrate Steve Nash in any way. That's not what we're doing here. But Steve Nash had Amari Stoudemire. He had Joe Johnson. He had Sean Marion. He had a crew of dudes. That's why they won That's why they won 60 games one season. I mean, this is why he won 54 games. This is why Mike D'Antoni averaged 58 wins a year in a 3.5-year span, 4-year span, because you had a crew of dudes, not just Steve Nash. You look at Allen Iverson. What did he have to play with on the offensive side of the ball? Defensively, absolutely. Exceptional coaching with Larry Brown, absolutely. But in the end, from an offensive standpoint, Larry Brown had to give Allen Iverson the ball and say, take me there. And Allen Iverson did it, man. Took him to the NBA Finals one year. Was a league MVP. Was a 4-time league scoring champion. This dude, pound for pound, is arguably the greatest ever. We are talking about a dude whose nickname was The Answer, because any questions that needed answering, he was the dude you deferred to answer the damn question. He was Allen Iverson. I covered him for a decade every day. I saw this dude do stuff that I have never seen in my life. And I'm telling you, he is that lethal. I cannot, if you want to talk to me about Isaiah Thomas, because of those 2 championships, and as a little guard and toughness and skill set and all of this other stuff, Isaiah could have scored if he wanted to, but obviously was a team leader and had parts around him. But when you talk about Allen Iverson, man, you got to give me something better than Steve Nash. Nothing but respect, but you've got to give me something better than Steve Nash. I cannot go with him over Allen Iverson. It just cannot happen.
I think you're not objective about this question, but that's just me.
Skip.
Oh, I'm objective about my basketball. Excuse me. Hold it.
No,
I'm
this
objective.
is the
First of all,
one
I'm objective,
player
period.
you're not
but
objective
especially
about.
Oh, no. Ask Allen Iverson. Ask Allen Iverson. There's plenty of seasons when Allen Iverson came up to me. Damn, Steve, give me a break, man. You hard on me. Because I'm like, yo, you're doing this wrong, you're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong. I know what I'm watching. I'm not going to lie to the fans. We used to get in arguments all the time.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now.
Okay.
Quick story real quick, y'all.
Quick, because we got to go. We got to go. Quick.
Oh.
No, tell the story.
No, go ahead.
You're right.
Because it's a story.
All right.
No. I told you. Go ahead. Just go ahead.
Okay.
We don't have time for it. Go ahead.
Quick story with Stephen A. Contradiction in terms.
They don't go together? Quick stories and Stephen A. are not the same?
And by the way, Skip, what about steals? What about steals? How many times Allen Iverson led everybody in steals?
3 times.
Steve Nash was never accused of that.
Yep.
No, he was never accused of that. All right.
How about that?
All right, but the last quick
Quickly.
point I got to throw
Quick!
in. The ultimate gunner I have ever watched, who had the greenest light of any shooter ever, Allen Iverson. You got that. That's a point against him. I'm sorry. It just is.
Because he had no help.
Well, that was a plus for him. No, he couldn't. He didn't need any help because he was going to shoot it every game.
The viewers have spoken. They say AI. He was the answer. Barely. Yeah, right. Okay, moving on. These are our final takes, ladies and gentlemen. Quick rapid fire debates with the gentlemen. Quick.
How much time is left?
We got plenty of time.
Oh.
Do we do anything quick on this show?
No.
Okay. When the World Series is tied 1-1, the winner of Game 3 goes on to win the series 70% of the time. So, Stephen A. Smith, who wins Game 3 tonight?
I'm going with San Francisco. They're going up against Guthrie, Jeremy Guthrie. He only had one postseason appearance, which was against the Orioles. It was the first appearance in an 11-year career. I think they're going to get to him early, and they'll get a lead before Kansas City's bullpen has a chance to come in the 7th, 8th, and 9th. It's not going to get to that point. San Francisco wins Game 3 tonight.
And I am rolling with the Royals tonight. On the mound for your Giants, 39-year-old Tim Hudson, whom I covered once upon a time back in his Oakland A's days. I don't think he'll last much longer than Guthrie will, if that long. So it's going to be a bullpen game, and the bullpen advantage, as we saw in Game 2, goes to the Kansas City Royals.
After getting off to a 3-0 start, the Bengals have 2 losses and a tie in their last 3 games. Will they bounce back this weekend against the Ravens, Skip Bayless?
No, they won't. I'm going with the Ravens, Stephen A. I'm going with Stephen Smith Sr. He has changed life in Baltimore for Joe Flacco. The defense is rolling, and all of a sudden, Cincinnati has lost its way. I'm going to go with the Ravens 24-20.
I'm going with the Ravens 27-21, Skip Bayless. The Cincinnati Bengals are not beating them twice in the same season. I don't believe it.
The Colts have won 5 straight games since getting off to an 0-2 start, while the Steelers alternating wins and losses every week this season. Who wins, Stephen A., Steelers or Colts?
The Indianapolis Colts, because they have Andrew Luck and the Steelers' defense is relatively soft. I'm not a believer. I'm going with the better team.
Yeah, I'm with you on this. I think the Colts win 27-17 because I wasn't buying into that flurry of points. What was it, 24 and the last 259 late in the half the other night against the 254?
Yep.
I'm not buying it. I'm sorry, but I have to buy into Luck and company so far.
Percy Harvin will make his Jets debut, ladies and gentlemen, this Sunday when the Bills face the Jets. Gang Green snapped their losing streak, Stephen A.?
Yes, I do believe they will because I think Buffalo, first of all, you're on the road, and secondly, you've lost your entire backfield. Fred Jackson probably won't be ready to go. C.J. Spiller's out for the season. Without a running game and with a questionable quarterback, I don't see how they beat the Jets.
I'm with you on this. I think Percy Harvin was a steal for the Jets. He's going to be a jolt of electricity for the Jets, and I think they're going to beat Buffalo.